Hello and welcome back to FORL. I am Upstage Body, and today I have TomzBattlerz with me here as well. And we are going to be explaining FORL Season 7 for you. So in Season 7, we have now moved on to an entirely new game, F1 2019, and it's going to be a completely new experience for the league, as this is a new game. The calendar goes as follows: the Brazilian Grand Prix, the Canadian Grand Prix, the Italian Grand Prix, the Austrian Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, the Belgian Grand Prix, the Japan Grand Prix, the Bahrain Grand Prix, and the finale, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
So yeah, Season 7 sees a brand new lineup of races. We haven't seen this order before. Obviously we start off in Brazil and end in Abu Dhabi, just like the tradition. And well, GP2 and 3 is a little bit different. Races are going to be every other week, but we have a feature race and a reverse grid race. This is because GP1 races are every other week, so we want to keep it so Brazil and GP1, rather than last season it was two different tracks, which was a bit confusing. So the feature race will consist of a short qualifying with a 50% race with that qualifying order. The next week will just be a 50% race, but with reverse championship standings. That's how the reverse grid race works, and that's how it's going to work for GP2 and 3. So it's going to mix a lot of things up, and the drivers are going to have to rely heavily on their ability to overtake and have really good strategy calls to win all the races and get the championship. But in the final round, in all of them, it takes place over 2 weeks. So 1 week will be a full qualifying session with bonus points. There is not a points table for that yet. And then the week after that will be a 50% race with the qualifying order of that full qualifying. And yeah, there'll be double points for the finale as well, just to spice things up in this 10 Grand Prix calendar. So I like the calendar. I'm not sure if you do. I think you do, don't you, Hannes?
Yeah, it's a pretty good calendar. It has a lot of famous tracks and a lot of good tracks for league racing as well. So I think it's going to be a great season.
Yeah, you probably see there is no street tracks either, because FORL likes to encourage racing rather than keeping it areas. The only one that's closest to a street track is Canada, but that's got long straights anyway, so we always like to see overtaking and everything. Should make it a bit easier in the reverse grid races. But yeah, ultimately looks like a great season ahead.
The teams of FORL Season 7 goes as follows: Fury Racing Team, Sync Motorsport, Livid Racing, Cynical Velocity, the Jupiter Racing Team, Bossman Gaming, Phoenix Motorsport, White House Online Racing Community,
Ozone Esports, eSlipstream Online Racing, European Racing League Esports, XRT Esports, Pluto Racing Team, Gearshift Racing, Peroni Esports, Spittles Motorsport, Equip Frost, Jade Motorsports, and Slingshot Sim Racing.
Here is Bossman Gaming with two teams in GP1. Their drivers are BMG Clenzo, BMG JJ, Damon Rocks 982, and Antive Beacon.
So yeah, all these drivers are brand new to the field. We haven't seen BMG Clenzo, JJ, Damon Rocks or Antif Beacon out on track yet, but their time trials look pretty good. They look like a pretty solid team, so they could be doing well in GP1. They have no GP2 or GP3 teams, so they're putting all their drivers in the top tier. Now I'm going to move on to Equip Frost.
In Equipe Prost, we have in GP3, the drivers are FORL Sainz and Krunton. Their reserve drivers for GP3 are ILRT Hamilton and Upstage Body 76.
So yeah, these drivers look pretty good for Tier 3. They do not have a Tier 1 or 2 team. Everyone's in GP3, they're starting at the bottom, want to work their way up. And FORL signs, you might know him as Floating Eye. He's had a bit of a hiatus, but he's joining the grid again. Be interesting to see what he can do, because he says his race pace is far better than his quali pace. We'll have to wait and see for that one. We've got Crunton in the second seat. He's also known as NSX Legend. If you watched a few seasons ago, he was up at the top battling Dylan in GP2. Bit of history between them two as well. But then we also have, as reserves, ILRT Hamilton and Upstage Body. ILRT Hamilton is a brand new driver. We don't know what his performance is like because he didn't do his TT, so it's struggled to put him to the correct tier. And we've also got Upstage Body, the Season 3 GP2 champion. Will he get a GP3 championship this time, or help his team get one? So now we're going to move on to ERL.
In European Racing League Esports, we have in GP1 as the drivers Chimera 2 and ERL Kevar 80 Top 4. As the reserve drivers, as the reserve driver, we have ERL Matty JH65.
These drivers, yeah, this lineup looks really good and solid actually. Chimera, he was in here last season, had a few poor results, but I blame that down to a bit of connection issues and just bad luck in general. He's a really fast driver. He was near the top of the leaderboard in the time trials. He could aim for the title this time. ERL Kevar is brand new, not really seen his pace too much, but yeah, he looks really good. The time trials he was quite high up. Same with Massey JH. They look pretty equal, so it'll be good. It looks like ERL have got an all-round good team and they could easily battle for the championship. And now we're going to move on to Fury Racing Team.
In Fury Racing Team, in GP1, the drivers are ADT Kowalski and TomzBattlerz. The reserve driver for GP1 is Barderman 007. In GP2, Fury Racing Team have IRL Schumacher and Porty Booth 60 as their racing drivers. The reserve driver for GP2 is Saxman 24. And then finally, in GP3, Fury Racing Team have the FRT Bianchi and XX Connor XX 9000 as their drivers.
So yeah, FRT they have teams in all divisions, so it'd be interesting to see how they play through that. Got a lot of drivers in the team. Starting GP3, you've got FRT Bianchi and XX Connor. These two people are quite experienced in the league, they've raced before, so that should be a pretty good lineup. In GP2, we've got IRL Schumacher and Portly Boot. We've seen IRL Schumacher come so close to the top 3 in the championship for the last 3 seasons in GP2, so will he be able to get a bit higher this time and maybe get the top 3 or even the championship? Portly Boot is brand new and so is Sexman. Now we go up to GP1, we've got ADT Kowalski. He got a win last season, got many podiums. It's his debut season last time. Will he do better this season? Because last season he ended up missing a race and had a pretty bad finale, so he only finished 4th in the championship after leading it for a little bit. TomzBattlerz, racing every season, champion of season 2. Then we've got Bar the Man, a brand new talent that looks promising and high up on lots of time trials. Now we're going to move on to Team GSR.
In gear shift racing, for gear shift racing, the GP2 drivers are Limitless Horizon and ex-UK ZZ Futures. Their reserve driver for GP2 is LRPDC Racing. In GP3, their race drivers are 12's 9612 and ZZ Luaps ZZ.
So yeah, in GP2, Limitless Horizon, he goes back to the start, known as Forza TDM. He's very experienced. I don't think he's got a win yet, so he was going to be looking for that this season, especially in his own team. And we've also got ex-UK Futures, who's another original driver in the league, and yeah, he got a win, I believe. So there's a bit of history back there. Quite a classic team this is. But then you've got LRDPC Racing, who's brand new. Will he bring the results in for the team when one of the drivers can't turn up? We'll have to wait and see. And in GP3, we've got FTCC drivers, and we've got 12's 9612 and ZZ Luaps. They are rivals in FTCC, Fury Touring Car Championship and Project Cars, so will they be able to convert that over into F1 and bring in some good results? It looks like they might be able to, because they're solid drivers. They could easily aim for podiums and wins. So now we're going to move on to Jade Motorsports.
For Jade Motorsport, the GP3 drivers are Envious Medal 059 and Tom Fulks GG, and their single reserve driver is Furnace 93.
This has a lot of chemistry in this team. Envious Medal and Tom Fulks, they kart with each other in real life, so they're going to easily give each other a morale boost going to the races. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of teamwork in this team, and I believe they also know Furnace, but he's debuting in the league this season, so it'll be interesting to see his pace, because I haven't seen it yet. We're going to move on to Jupiter Racing Team.
Jupiter Racing Team has 2 teams in GP2, and their 4 drivers are Smidget 101, Jumped Warrior 11, Griffiths 6, and Mazat. And the reserve driver for GP2 is Critchley 949805. For GP3, Jupiter Racing Team only has one team, and their drivers are Oval Dread and Restored Panda 46, with their reserve driver being JRT Signs.
So, Smidget, will he be able to convert last year's title into another title? We'll have to wait and see. We've also got Jumped Warrior, a returning driver from Season 5, that's pretty cool. And we've got Griffiths, last season GP2, he did pretty well. Getting, I believe, a podium or 2 out there. he was getting solid results in these races, so will he be able to push on to get the wins? But we've got Mazats, brand new, he's South African, he's our first African driver, I believe. And yeah, it looks like he's pretty fast. He just missed the cut for GP1, so he could easily challenge Midget for the title. Critchley, brand new, I do not really know how he performs, but it'll be interesting to see. And now we're going to move on to GP3, where we've got Oval Dread and Restored Panda. Oval Dread's raced here before, he had a bit of bad luck in the past, so maybe he could change that for this season. Restored Panda, brand new driver, and JRT Science is also another brand new driver, so JRT have got a mix of experienced and novice drivers here for Season 7. Now we're going to move on to Ozone Racing.
In Ozone Esports, their GP3 team consists of RB14 Seagull and a driver to be announced.
Yeah, Ozone needs to pick up a few drivers here and there. Overall, RB14 Seagull, I'm not really seeing his pace. This is a mixed team, I'm not really sure how they're going to perform. So we're going to have to wait for the season to commence so we can see their performance. Now we're going to move on to Pluto Racing Team.
Pluto Racing Team's GP1 lineup consists of Toxic X Fusion and PLT Atomic, with their reserve driver being Trapman 49. In the tier below, they have Adam Lee X and Salsiga Dustin.
PRT is the junior team of JRT, or basically the privateer version, and they've managed to pick up Toxic Fusion, a driver who got a few wins in Season 1, and PRT Atomic is a brand new driver on the field. He looks to be very strong, high up on the time trials. Trapman also the same, he looks like a nice fresh talent that I've not seen in this league before. Now moving on to GP2, we've got Adam Lee X and Salsiga Dustin. Adam Lee has a bit of experience, and maybe he could hook that experience up to potentially get a constructors with Salsiga Dustin. Looks like a pretty strong lineup. Now we're going to move on to Phoenix Motorsport.
Phoenix Motorsports, Phoenix Motorsports' sole entry comes in the form of the GP2 team, which consists of Best FIFA 45 and Big Wii 1185.
This team is a bit mixed. So you've got Best FIFA, who some seasons not performed so well, other seasons being very close to wins. If you can get in the mindset of wins, he could easily be bringing Phoenix to the top. His teammate Big Wee, not really seeing much about him yet. We'll have to wait and see when the season commences to see what this performance will look like. Right, now we're going to move on to Spittles Motorsport.
Spittles Motorsports' big GP2 teams are the drivers SP James QS and Decade 47, and their 2 reserve drivers are JRT Tommy and Thomas Chelsea 1. In the GP3 team consists of AMS Andrews 14, Sync Norris, with their reserve driver being Bouncy Fanta 123.
SP James is a bit of a veteran in this league, goes back to seasons 3 in GP1. He's got a lot of experience, he's very good at drifting the cars around the corners, so yeah, he's one to watch. DK, he's a brand new driver, same with JRT Tommy and Thomas Chelsea, so we're going to have to wait and see how they perform when the season goes underway. But in GP3 we've got AMS Andrew, Sync Norris, who's also known as Spittles, and Bouncy Fanta. This team has raced in the league in the past, very experienced team. They could easily aim for the title. Now we're going to move on to SSSR.
Slingshot Sim Racing's GP2 team consists of SSSR Unicorn and the Jasper Boss 2.
This team, a last minute entrant, and they have a pretty good lineup. SSSR Unicorn, not seen his pace yet, but he did look pretty good in the TTs. Jasper Boss last season, he was getting on the verge of podiums as well, so that was really good from him. Now we're going to move on to Cynical Velocity.
Cynical Velocity's GP1 team consists of Jordkey 123 and UF1L Nico. Their GP3 team consists of Bobby Ben 13, Raging Lion 182 and Bonnet 07.
Right, this team, Jordkey 123 and UF1L Nico, brand new lineup, not seen these drivers before. UF1L Nico looks like a nice bit of fresh talent as well. He did really well in the time trials. And Jordkey, not really seen his, so that'll be interesting. It's a bit of a mystery going into the first race, but we'll have to see how they perform. They do not have a GP2 team, but their GP3 team is Bobby Ben, Raging Lion and Bonnet. That team's a bit mixed. They've got Bobby Ben, last season quite unlucky, Raging Lion quite unlucky as well, and Bonnet been involved in a few crashes. So yeah, maybe if they just get the right mindset on, they can deliver some great results. Now we're going to move on to Sync Motorsport.
Sync Motorsports, the GP1 team, is a double entry, and the 4 drivers are Sync Tom 4444, Orbit X Nations, Sync Quanta, and Sync Repulsion, and their single reserve driver is the Hungarian MI. The GP2 team is one team, and those drivers are Mighty Dylan 3224 and WR Peanut, with a reserve driver being XXF1 Aiden 66XX.
Sync. Last season, Sync Quanta narrowly missing out on the GP2 title. Now he's in GP1. Will he be able to aim for that? Sync Tom, GP3, GP2 champion. Will he be able to aim for GP1? It looks very good. He topped the time trial leaderboards. Orbit Nations from GP2 last season. He was a reserve this season. He's going to be GP1 full time, and he looks to be a very good teammate alongside Sync Tom. We've also got Sync Repulsion. He's had a few disconnections, but I believe he's managed to fix that. So Sync, I think, has a really strong lineup in the season ahead. You've also got the reserve driver of the Hungarian MI, who delivered some impressive results last season overall on the base of consistency. So Sync looks like a very strong team. Now going to move on to the GP2. You've got Mighty Dylan, who is the season 5 GP2 champion. No, GP2 runner-up, sorry. And over just behind Sync Tom. A bit of rivalry going back there. Then we've got WOR Peanut and XXF1 Aiden. Not really sure about them two. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting lineup. Now we're going to move on to White House Online Racing Community.
White House Online Racing Community's GP1 field consists of Top Tom 53 and Eke00, and the reserve driver being GTW 101. The GP3 team consists of OK Sniper O and Wolfpack MM.
GP1 looks like it could easily be a rival against PRT and Sync, as they've got Top Tom, a Season 5 champion and Season 6 runner-up, going against with Eke00, who's another really strong high point scoring driver. You've also got GTW 101, he goes back a few seasons, a bit of a FORL legend. He's been here pretty much every single race, but he has caused a few controversial moments. So WRC looks like it was going to have a really strong Constructors Championship lineup. And in GP3 we've got Chaos, Sniper and Wolfpack. Wolfpack has had a mixed bag of results last season as a reserve. This time he's a full-time driver, so maybe he could deliver more. And we've got Chaos, the Colombian driver, and yeah, he's going to be an interesting driver as well as he goes back to Season 1. Now we're going to move on to XRT.
In XRT Esports, the GP2 team consists of Worthless Eagle 3, Only DTM, and the reserve driver being XUKZZ Excite. The GP3 team consists of XR Ethan and Immortals F1.
XRT GP2 looks to be really strong. We've got Worthless Eagle 3, who was quite high up on the leaderboards, probably just on the edge of GP1, but the team went to GP2, so he's a person you want to keep your eye on throughout the season. We've also got Only DTM, well, it should be Only F1, shouldn't it? But yeah, he's a good driver to pair up with Worthless Eagle. And then we've got UK Excite, the brother of Futures, who goes back to Season 1. I believe he has a few wins as well, so there's a bit of experience there with the GP2 team. Now we go into GP3, we've got XR Ethan and Immortals. Not seen them on track, but I believe Immortals' old gamer tag was Gym Lad. So yeah, he used to race in this league, but he hasn't been around for a while, so it's going to be interesting to see how his performance plays out. Next we have eSlipstream Online Racing.
eSlipstream Online Racing's sole entry comes from their GP1 team, which consists of Luca J17 and Danny 73112353.
Luca J17, you may also know him as Bacon Yum. He got the win of Brazil last season. Will he be able to do it again? He only managed to do 2 races last season, which is a shame because he looked like a strong title contender, so maybe he could carry this over to this season. We've also got Danny 73, and yeah, he looks like a pretty good driver as well. He's quite high up on the leaderboards, not seen too much of him. He could, yeah, this pair looks like a really challenging, strong lineup for ESOR. Now we're going to move on to Livid Racing.
Livid Racing's only entry comes in their reserve GGP3 team, and their sole driver is LR Blazer Guns.
So yeah, LR Blazer Guns last season he did pretty well. Well, he had a few mixed results. I believe he got a podium, so maybe if he can string a few of those, LR may end up being a full-time team next season. Now we're going to move on to Perrone Esports.
Perrone Esports team consists of the GP3 reserve team also, with the drivers being Akira Wig and Slivery Scott, and the reserve driver being Crazed Pig 5098.
Clearer Rig, Slivery Scott, Crazed Pig, brand new lineup. They're a reserve GP3, so they're going to have to fight their way to get the spot for a full-time team. But Clearer Rig and Slivery Scott, they were really high up on the time trials. They were bordering GP2 time, so yeah, that's very interesting there. Crazed Pig, another interesting driver. He could also be performing well as well, so yeah. I believe Perrone Esports, you might want to watch out for them next season. And that's all from us today. We'll see you at the first round next week. Bye. #SyncUp.